Gaming is for friends.
I thought this music was so epic.
We all like talking about gaming.
The only thing that I disliked about the old game.
There are so many different conversations started by gaming.
Oh, I forgot I have you.
This could be anything.
Okay, walk in that green goo. Oh, that's a no.
Anything Gaming Podcast. Hi, and welcome to Anything Gaming, episode 34. We're getting through some episodes. We're doing exclusive games this week, games that come out on, well, they're not as exclusive as they were unless you're with Nintendo, but PlayStation port it to PC and stuff like that now, so it can be, it's a little bit of a different term. But
I do want to talk about I do want to talk about maybe how exclusives used to be to how they are now. But in the meantime, let's do the introductions. I'm doing fine this week. Actually, I'll be doing better next week. My vacation's coming up. And my God, do I have some gaming going on. I want to touch on pretty much all the games I've bought in so far, even if I don't beat them, just to throw them in and say, there, I played it. And then just toss it back on the pile. Get that first achievement going, and then I'll keep going. But then I'm doing great. How about yourself there, Ant?
Really good. I this all came about because I actually started playing Astro Bot, and so I was playing that through the week, and I just fell in love with my PlayStation 5 all over again. I put the Steam Deck to the side for a moment. But yeah, so PlayStation...
You heard it here, folks.
Yeah, I'm back on the PlayStation 5 playing Astro Bot, and it's such a wonderful game. But one thing that sticks out in the game is that there's so many little Easter eggs and old PlayStation 1, 2, 3 exclusives Easter eggs in the game that all the PlayStation lovers would be like, oh, I remember that game. And then I started thinking, oh, this could make a really good episode.
Yeah, I mean, see, the thing too is let's go back to PS1.
Yeah.
Now, when I was but a wee lad back in the PS1 days, to me, the PS1 exclusives were your Twisted Metals, your Resident Evils, your Tomb Raiders,
GTA.
your Crash Bandicoots, GTA for a time, yes. Yeah. But the only problem is eventually a lot of those end up going to other systems. Like Tomb Raider is one game that everyone thinks, even the old, especially the old ones, oh, that's PlayStation. Forgetting that, Tomb Raider made it onto the Saturn. GTA, when it might make its way onto the Dreamcast. And even after, once the new systems came in, Crash Bandicoot went on other console systems.
And Xbox owns it now, so...
Right, yeah. So, it's definitely interesting to see, I like that, though. I think they should do it, because... Okay, so for me, PS1 exclusives, the main one would be just that, Twisted Metal. Your Sweet Tooths, your Mr. Grimm's, your Minions... and all that stuff. That stuff's cool. Crash Bandicoot would be the other exclusive, of course. I mean, for a while that was played. I mean, I remember the commercial. It's one of the greatest commercials I've ever seen. It's pretty much a guy in a Crash Bandicoot costume outside of Nintendo of America's headquarters with a bullhorn. Being like, yeah, we're coming for you. We're going to do, a cartridge-based system? Boo! CDs are where it's at. He's got a megaphone. It's a declaration. Sega wasn't sending anyone in a Sonic costume to do that to Nintendo.
They weren't wrong. It wasn't long after Crash Bandicoot came out. I think that was the end of Sega.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, because and it's kind of tells you, Sony was declaring war on Nintendo, and they didn't even care about Sega. They weren't sending their Crash guy over to the Sega headquarters. No reason for it.
They can't win.
No, and shame. But once they went, then we got into the PlayStation 2 era of exclusives. Now, what to you would be a PlayStation 2?
Okay, you missed one really important one from PlayStation 1 before we get to PlayStation.
No.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say Final Fantasy because that's a little too. Even though it kind of was in a way, especially
was.
7.
But you've missed Ape Escape.
Okay. I will concede that Ape Escape was a strong. I don't think it got as much attention as the other ones, but that was a Sony-made game.
And Gran Turismo.
Gran Turismo, yes,
Yes,
that's their
yeah.
racing game.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's again the big one too for the time. I don't know if it's as big now. It seems like Forza on the Xbox, and that's one of Xbox's exclusives.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I feel like Forza's definitely gone away, but to go to PlayStation 2, it's hard to kind of. It was Tekken an exclusive. I think that's the one that I remember from PlayStation 2.
For the time, yes, but no, for the time, yeah. For the PlayStation 2 era, it was because Soul Calibur went on all these systems. For me, like the main PS2 franchises were Ratchet and Clank, Jack Daxter, Killzone. Was a big franchise.
Yeah.
That was a big. In fact, but see, that's the thing. That was way too early. Have you ever played Killzone 1 on the PS2?
No.
Woefully slow. It's clearly a PlayStation 3 game they designed for the PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
You know? Good game, but just, oh man, it draws. You gotta play the remastered one on PS3. That's the only way you can play and actually have fun. I'm trying to think of other exclusive games that would have been exclusive to the PS2 and Red Faction, the first Red Faction was only a PS2 game. The first Time Splitters also only PS2. So it almost followed what PS1 did. You know, like when they first made their impact, it started on the PlayStation. But once they got too big for that, they kind of branched out. I don't know if like really Sony cared that much about exclusives and marketing and mascots as much as they do now. Now it's on, especially with Astro Bot.
That's funny you say that because there's so many games that got their start on the PlayStation consoles, and Sony's like, whatever, you want to be exclusive here, we're not going to support you. You can go and branch out, do whatever, and then they disappear from PlayStation, and all the fans are like, hey, wasn't that was one of our exclusives you let go? Why did you do that? You know.
No, I mean, for some reason, you're right though. They never really cared that much to compare it to Nintendo.
Nintendo locked everything down. Okay, that's an exclusive. We'll lock it down.
Right? Like they locked their mascots down. And they got more than one. They'll never get rid of Mario, but if they did get rid of Mario, it's all right. They got like 5 other mascots waiting in the wings just to fill that void. You know what I mean? They got unlocked. With PlayStation, though, when coming up, I mean, it didn't seem like they really cared that much about the character. They cared more about the game, which is commendable. You know, that's where it should be. It should be the game will build a good character. I mean, there's plenty of mascots that come and go that, you know, they did the game there that sucks. But especially if it's exclusive, if it's exclusive and you want to make it into a franchise, it's got to be good.
Yeah, that was what I found with the PlayStation 2. PlayStation 3 was very similar. They had Heavenly Sword. They started Uncharted was straight up on PlayStation 3. There was a whole heap of games that I think that's PlayStation 3 is when they started to care about their little mascots a little bit. Actually,
one thing I did forget too, now I'm forgetting another big franchise that started on PS2 was God of War.
Yeah.
But anyway, go.
Yeah, well, but that's what I was saying with God of War came to PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, then PlayStation 3, and they started being protective over that. That was like the first one they were protective of, and then Uncharted was the next one they were protective of because they lost Tomb Raider and they could see how many fans got hurt by that. So I feel like Uncharted was a direct response to that. Hey, we'll make our own Tomb Raider game. It's all right, fans. We'll look after you.
Well, PlayStation 3, I think, is when the mascots started growing up in a way. You know, I mean, you know, it kind of started with God of War on PS2, but you had the Uncharted series on PS3. Another series that started on PS3 that Sony owns is Infamous. The Infamous series started on the PlayStation 3. That was definitely
I never got into that. Did you ever get into that?
I played the first one. Not bad. It's an Insomniac game.
The last one, and it was... Bleh.
Oh, Second Son? Yeah, Second Son. I got Second Son because it was like the first PS4 game I got. So, you know, you always try the new hotness, and it wasn't terrible, but, you know, it's instantly forgettable. I didn't play too much of Infamous 2, but Infamous 1 was good, you know, and it was like I said, an Insomniac game. Another game, actually, I don't know, maybe you can help me with this. Where did Sly Cooper start? PS2 or PS3?
I want to say 2. I think.
Yeah, me
Yeah, I
too.
think so.
But that was always just like, that didn't even seem like a PlayStation exclusive in a way, even though it was.
But did Spider-Man
like,
start on 2?
Well, okay, so here's the thing. Like, when we talk about the exclusive of Spider-Man, we're talking Marvel's Spider-Man. We're talking that Spider-Man. I mean, Christ, there were Spider-Man games on the Atari 2600.
Yeah.
Going back that far. The first real, like, good 3D Spider-Man I can think of. It did come to PS1, but it also came to the Nintendo 64 and Dreamcast, if I'm not mistaken, along with its sequel. And then you had the ones based off the movies, and by then they came out for, what I call the triangle, the Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo. Like that three, just like all of them, so you spread your base. But it wasn't until PS4 where they did Spider-Man, and even that, like, do you remember that leak that happened years ago? Like, it blamed on the North Koreans.
No, do tell this story.
Well, no, there's not really much to tell. I guess, like, they kind of broke the news that, so Disney owned Marvel, and, they were pumping out the movies and they were making big bucks, but they didn't have Spider-Man. Sony still had Spider-Man. So I guess they worked a deal. Even to this day, if someone else has better knowledge of it, feel free to educate me. But it worked out like, so they'll still have the Sony movies and do their thing, but there'll also be the Marvel Spider-Man. And at the time, neither would meet. Of course they would. That Spider-Man movie that came out of Disney had both Tobey and Andrew Garfield in it. So they did that. But Sony decided to more or less focus on the video game of Spider-Man than any real movies.
Well,
which might be why my web stuck.
All they have to do is license it back to Disney, and then they get all the merchandise and all the game sales that go along with it.
That decision making, I think, is above our pay grade, man.
Oh, yeah, but we can do that. We can make
that's hard right in there and be like, all right, you guys been hacking around too long. Now we're actually gonna make some business, some money, some fans.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll scream at the secretary, give us some coffee. We're gonna be up all night. We got ideas. Yeah. But getting back to exclusive though, so with PS3, you really started to get the more mature.
Well, I think Sony found their market by PlayStation 3. One thing that I would say though is they hit the ground running with PlayStation 3 with 3 like big games straight out of the gate, and then it was crickets for many, many years. Like there was no games that came on for, I think it was almost like 2 years until their like exclusives started coming towards the end of the PlayStation 3 cycle. That was probably one of the hardest consoles for devs to put their games on.
However, you got to give them an asterisk on this. Okay, so PlayStation 3 came out in what, 2006, 2005, 2006, around there? I mean, and what, the PS4, is that 2014?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's 8 years. That is, even to this day, I think the longest like frontline life cycle a console ever had. Some life cycles are longer. Technically, I think Atari's was like a good 15, 16 years. But like, we're talking frontline. We're talking, this is the console that we're going to be making games for. So for that, I can kind of like forgive them a little for kind of like running dry on ideas.
No. It wasn't running dry on ideas. Like there was so many good ideas that came towards the end of the PlayStation 3 cycle. The last 4 years of PlayStation 3, I think there was some good stuff. But
one good thing that came out like towards the very end of the PlayStation 3 life cycle is when Last of Us hit.
That's what I'm saying. Like they started bringing some good stuff out for the PlayStation 3, but it took like too long. And I think they mucked up on the price point and everything with the PlayStation 3. Just about everything they got wrong with the PlayStation 3.
Hey, but hey, they learn from the mistakes, and I tell you this: it's not like Sony's ever going to release a wicked expensive console anymore, right? Am I right? Am I right?
Whoa,
They wouldn't do that anymore. They learned
whoa.
their lesson.
I would have to say the PlayStation 4 was their best. We'll get back onto the PlayStation 5
Yeah.
Pro in a minute. We'll come
get
back to
there,
that. Yeah.
Little foreshadowing.
Yeah. Yeah, the PlayStation 4, that's when they nailed it. They absolutely got into their first person. That's Horizon came out.
Horizon came out. They refined Last of Us.
Mm-hmm.
Like
there was
certain
a
things.
lot of Uncharted on PlayStation 4.
A lot of Uncharted 2. Ratchet and Clank. Actually, I think Ratchet and Clank, like the game Ratchet and Clank, but the one for PS4, is seriously close to being my favorite Ratchet and Clank game so far.
But you've only just started the new ones.
Like, as of right now, my favorite Ratchet and Clank is still Going Commando for PS2. That's the second one.
Wait till you leave the city. It's going to be better.
I shall.
It's honestly the greatest. There's this if anyone's playing the new Ratchet and Clank, which came out like a little bit ago, the first hour of it is a little bit slow, and I don't know, it's story building, but then after you get going in this game, it kills all the other Ratchet and Clanks like to an extreme level. So I'm just saying, you'll see. It's only a matter of time.
What else? Hold on a second. I just saw it, and then I like, oh yeah. One PS4 exclusive. I still, this one, it's one of those games that, like, I always say, I'm going to try this again, give it a second shot, and then I do give it a second shot, I'm like, wait, I don't like this. And then I try a couple years ago, I'm going to give it another shot, and I go again, and I still don't like it. But did you ever play Days Gone?
Oh, I love that game.
Yeah.
I got it because it was in part of the. You remember when they released the PlayStation 5? Okay, think back 3 years, kids. Okay, they released the PlayStation 5 and there was no games on the PlayStation 5. And so they made this PlayStation 5 games that you could download for free, like this little library that if you were in the PlayStation, this was before they redid their subscription service. They gave you like access to 9 games that were PlayStation 4 exclusives but ran really nicely on PlayStation 5. And Days Gone was one of those games. And I sat down and I literally had nothing to play on my brand new PlayStation 5 except for Call of Duty. And I'm like, oh, I'll give that a real shot. And it's a very slow start. The first probably 2 hours is really a bit tedious and slow. And you're thinking, when is this going to become something that I like? But by the time you get into the story, and I think it takes maybe about 30 to 40 hours to finish, kind of thing. By the time you got to kind of base it on, once you get 10 hours in, you will just want to see what the end's like. It's that kind of game. You've got to give it 10 hours of your life. It's definitely that type of game. It's not a quick kill.
But still, hey, it's got its fans, and it's another exclusive that, you know.
Well, Death Stranding was exclusive for a time on PlayStation.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, no, it still is. I mean, I'm not counting PC ports. We're talking strictly consoles. You know what I mean? Like, for me, PC is just, it's like another plateau. You know what I mean? You're not really competing
somewhere
anymore.
Somewhere else in the world, a different part of the world.
Right, yeah. I'm not really counting.
Other people, other gamer problems. Yeah, that's fine.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
But Death Stranding, that was like really one of the first real big PS5 exclusives.
Did you ever play that?
No, I got it from my brother for his birthday. That's what I do. Anytime like there's a game, I'm like, I'll always get him for his birthday or Christmas, and then I'll be like, so how was it? And because he likes Walking Dead, and you know he loves Boondock Saints, you know, Boston. So naturally he's going to be a big fan of anything Norman Reedus has to do with. So I figured, you know, give him Death Stranding. He'll like it, and he did not like it. He thought it was boring.
I tried so hard to like that game. I tried impossibly hard to like that game. It was. I was unsure how like I spent 10 hours trying to like that game. Like that's how hard I wanted to like the game, and I could not like it. I could not get through it. There's some really weird, interesting mechanics in the game. Like you're obviously working as like more a delivery guy, and you can pack your backpack, so you can move. Like say you're carrying 5 boxes on your back, you can move where they're situated on your backpack to make it a better, like a more stable load to carry. If you've got them all on the right side, then you'll kind of veer this way, or you know what I mean, and do things like that. So it's got some really weird things like that you don't see in a lot of games. It kind of made it a bit interesting, and the story seemed like it was building into something interesting, but geez, it's slow. Oh my God. I just slow and slow is slow. And then it had this really weird thing where it was, say you were playing the game, and I was playing it, and I climbed up that particular mountain with my backpack on, it would leave a marker up the top of that mountain, so you would know that I climbed up that marker. That's the only kind of multiplayer aspect to it. There's all these markers around the place, and people from around the world had done this bit and in this time, and you're like, I don't care. So
yeah, but I mean, right now, as far as PS5 goes, I think Sony has a good handle on some exclusives. You know, they got the Death Stranding. I mean, I'm not a huge fan, but some people are. I mean, Astro Bot just came out. That's a great exclusive. You got Horizon still rolling. You got God of War still rolling. I think they're hurting really for exclusives.
Oh, I just think how long has the PlayStation 5 been out now? I want to say
2021?
Yeah, I'm going to say nearly 5 years.
Yep.
And I reckon you're lucky to get one good exclusive a year. Not like when I think back to Nintendo and Sega especially, there was multiple exclusives that came out. You know, every 3 months was a nice new exclusive that I needed to want that console.
One thing I loved about the 90s, because both the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, Mega Drive, wherever you happen to be, were, and also the N64, PlayStation 1, Saturn game, even if the same game came out for both systems, or the 3 systems, depending, it would different. Like,
oh, yes.
Something like Sunset Riders on Super Nintendo, and then play Sunset Riders on Genesis. Technically the same game, but different. You know? I got even, like, if you played Vigilante 8 on PlayStation 1 and then play Vigilante 8 on Nintendo 64, same game, but different. You know, little quirks here. Maybe the graphics are better on this, maybe there's a different character, maybe there's an exclusive. Going back to what's it's there in Vigilante 8, I remember there was an exclusive level only to the Nintendo 64 version. You know, so like stuff like that would happen. Or if you played Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero, the PlayStation version had actual FMV to it, where obviously the Nintendo 64 version would not. Stuff like that. You know, so even if it wasn't an exclusive to the console, it felt like every single version felt like its own version.
Yeah.
You know, which is cool. Let's say some facts here. Play Call of Duty on Xbox Series X, play it on PS5. Other than controls, what's the difference? You know, it's to the point where you can play with each other on different consoles. You know, that's just how similar it is now. Even PC, for God's sake. You know, so
I turn them people off. Them people are not allowed to play with me.
But I would say that even more, that makes exclusives more important now than ever before. So to see PlayStation, I mean, I hope they're not becoming too just comfortable with just having all this stuff. You know, they should have more coming on. That's what they should always strive to be. For Xbox right now, I mean, yeah, they kind of dropped the ball with exclusivity, I think, especially during the Xbox One era. But they're making the attempt to come back. You know, they got some heavy hitters coming.
They just went out and bought every single major studio. Then they're making an attempt to come. They're coming back because they bought their way back.
Did you ever watch wrestling?
Yes.
Okay, back in the 90s, early 90s, WCW, they went ahead and they bought like everyone. They raided WWF, they raided ECW. even some of All Japan, New Japan, because they want to have the best wrestlers in their organization. That's what they did. Yeah. I see that a lot of what Microsoft's doing.
Yeah.
Just buy the established stuff
everything.
and now keep it in your house.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's like WCW, it'll work for a while, but just don't make the same mistakes and get lazy with it, I guess. You look at like games like Doom, Perfect Dark. God, there's a lot of like exclusive games coming out to the Xbox, but those are like the two ones that really like stick in my head.
Well, here's the interesting thing, because Xbox is forever trying to say that the console wars are over. They're always bringing out these little sweet tweets, or the CEO of Xbox is going, "Oh, my favorite game at the moment is God of War. I'm loving playing through that on my PlayStation." Like things like that, and you think, what's your game? Like, why are you trying to merge us all together? But I wonder if Sony's kind of coming back with that, because, okay, in Astro Bot, Xbox owns Crash Bandicoot, but as Crash Bandicoot...
Do they, though?
Well, they do. Activision.
Oh, yeah. Well, because I know that Crash Bandicoot 4, along with the trilogy, along with Crash Team Racing, came out for everything. Came out on the Switch. So that's... But see, like you said, though, Xbox is very loose with their properties. I can play Banjo-Kazooie right now on my Switch. Yeah, you're right. It's maybe they don't care that much about exclusives. If you're making consoles for everything, then exclusives, you just don't got them anymore.
Yeah, but in Astro Bot, they've actually got Crash Bandicoot in Astro Bot.
But even if Xbox does, at the end of the day, Crash Bandicoot was PS1. Crash Bandicoot defined PS1 for a lot of people in the 90s. Yeah. So, you kind of got to... I would hope they would Lara Croft somewhere in there, just because, that was PlayStation 1. And have, like, Cloud and Tifa. It doesn't matter. Although... To be honest, has the Final Fantasy VII remakes even touched Xbox at all? I don't think they have, right?
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, I know Fantasy 16 did, but that's like the new hotness, so I wouldn't know about that. And it's kind of funny talking about the Xbox exclusives, because back in the day when the real Xbox One came out, the first Xbox, they had exclusives galore. Like, they had
Halo.
A lot of games. Not Halo, even little things like, okay, so Return to Castle Wolfenstein, for example. For the PlayStation 2, you had Return to Castle Wolfenstein Operation Resurrection. And, it wasn't a horrible game, but it was definitely a downgrade from what the PC version was. With Return to Castle Wolfenstein Tides of War for Xbox, not only did you get the actual PC game, which looked about like, for the time, what an average PC game was. I'm sure people pumped it up with whatever voodoo card they had. But there was actually some other extra stuff, and you could still play online. Like all that thing. So even going back to what we're talking about, where it's the same game but different games, the original Xbox was really good at that. Some other games too, like... hold on a second. I'm gonna have to do this. Jade Empire. That was exclusive to the original Xbox. That's a phenomenal game. That's like made by the BioWare, the people that make Mass Effect and Knights of the Republic. That only came out for the Xbox at the time.
Well, there was, and also Limbo. A lot of those Super Meat Boy. A lot of those little PC games that Xbox could run really well. They popped them out. Toy Soldiers.
Elder Scrolls 3 was only for the original Xbox. It didn't come out for PS2, or obviously it came out for PC, but for the consoles, it was only for Xbox.
We got a couple of comments here that apparently they think that Nintendo has the best exclusives.
It does, yeah. That's.
Yeah, it's hands down, and it keeps its exclusives. What I was trying to say before about this Crash Bandicoot thing is that I think that Nintendo is kind of keeping everything old school. We're going to lock everything down. We're going to keep it very Nintendo focused. PlayStation's going, hang on, we can see what Xbox is doing over here. They're kind of just trying to get their game to as many people as possible. They're not worried about what console plays Minecraft or what console plays Call of Duty. They don't care about any of that. They just want they want to have. They're trying to make money from the game sales as opposed to the console sales, because I don't know if this is true or not, but it's always been said that consoles don't make a company money. It's always the games that make them money. It's the way that people. So you buy a PlayStation. Basically, Sony makes a loss on that sometimes, or sometimes they make a little profit, but they make all their money from all the titles that they're selling in their store, like Apple does with their iPhone. Similar to that, they're making their 30% cut out of every game they sell. So when they make exclusive games and they're only selling it on PlayStation, then they're missing out on PC market, which they've just recently started porting to PC. They're missing out on Xbox market. They're missing out on Nintendo market. So
well, I mean, obviously, not always, but most of the time, exclusives usually come from the console makers themselves. Not always. Even if it's not made by the console makers, it's at least published by the console makers. So they always have that sway. And obviously, they're not going to put stuff on other consoles, at least yet. Who knows what tomorrow will bring, especially with Xbox. But going back to what the commenter said about Nintendo, I mean, Nintendo's just got such a lock on exclusives and they've had it. Mm-hmm. They've had it before a lot of gamers were even born. It's to the point now where, I mean, I want to say the last new Nintendo franchise I can think of was ARMS. Maybe there's another one that I can, if I try really hard, I can think of it. But ARMS was really like the last big, okay, here's the next Nintendo game. And for the credit I played, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too good, but it wasn't too bad.
You're not wrong there. There's not a lot of the Nintendo games or their platform exclusives are very, very old, grandfathered in exclusives. They're not like bringing out new stuff. They're not trying anything new. It's just like, hey, would you like to see Mario on the beach? Now would you like to see him in the city?
And why not? Look at Echoes of Wisdom. Mm-hmm. It's a Zelda game, but now you can play as Zelda. And I bet you right now, with pre-orders, that game's probably sold a ton already. And it's going to sell a ton. Right? Yeah. Why the name Zelda? It's a name that people have grown to trust, even if you don't like the Zelda games. And I know people that hate the Zelda games. Even they'll admit when a new Zelda game, they'll notice it. They'll know what the name is. It's just so ubiquitous now with gaming, practically, and it's not even Nintendo's biggest franchise.
No, it's quite large, but yeah.
You could make. I mean, look at something like Pokemon Snap for the Nintendo 64, for example. Here's a game where you that's the point of the game. You don't interact with anything. You can throw Pokeballs and other stuff to make some Pokemon react and stuff. But other than that, you're on a rail. It's like, remember we talked about rail shooters? We should talk about that.
Oh yes.
Very similar. You're just taking pictures. Sold gangbusters. I own a copy. I still own a copy. If something happened, I copy Pokemon Snap, I'd be like, oh crap, I gotta get a new copy of Pokemon Snap. It's just some games just have that appeal. So with Nintendo, I feel with Nintendo's it's easy. They've got their exclusives. They don't need to worry about that as hard as Sony or Microsoft need to, especially Microsoft. I would love to see Sony though in one console cycle just hit hard, come out with all the exclusives. I want to see one calendar, well not calendar, but one console cycle where you get a new Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, Twisted Metal, Uncharted, God of War, Horizon, Last of Us. Just pump out all these strong exclusives because you got them, and then Nintendo does it. Why don't you?
No, I think are car games dying? No, I mean this is a topic for another day, but a lot of PlayStation's earliest franchises were based around cars a lot, like Twisted Metal, Gran Turismo. There was probably even Porsche Challenge. There was a whole fistful of car games that seem to have died from the PlayStation library of their exclusives. I don't know if they're going to bring them back.
funny that you mentioned. I remember that circle of friends back in high school. They loved Gran Turismo just for all the customization. It was all there. They worshipped it. But now I think it's more Forza. But Forza's on the Xbox.
Yeah.
I mean, not right now. Forza is the leader in driving simulation. There is a different. In my mind, there's two types of driving games. It's strict driving games. You have simulation and you have arcade.
Yeah.
I'm not including things like Mario Kart or Crash Team Racing. It has to be actual car driving. Simulation is just that. Like if you're driving a whatever, it's gonna drive like a whatever. The handling, unless you tweak anything. Whereas arcade games, everything more or less handles. Some might be tighter than others, but for the most part,
it's like so the car driving in Fortnite is very arcade. Like I drive across a water. Is exactly very realistic.
No, right. And then personally, I've always preferred arcade over simulation.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
Not,
I mean, we grew up playing Daytona in the arcades. That was that was arcade. So whatever.
I still remember. Lame story. I remember I got a Nintendo. It might have been Tips and Tricks, but it was it explained all the secrets you can get in San Francisco Rush for the Nintendo 64. And I remember I was just like driving around trying to get. I couldn't though. It was just like, yeah, just do this. But I suck at driving games anyway. But it was fun to try to do. You know what I mean? And it was definitely more fun than I think would ever have with Forza. I get the customization, tweak this, tweak that. Maybe I'm just not like a real gearhead in life, so that's why it really doesn't. That much. I don't think those games are dying because you will always have that fan base that likes car customization. It might not sell gangbusters anymore, but it will sell.
Yeah. We got another comment here of that Nintendo is building a legendary legacy brands. Okay. There's an icon in the way. I can't see that bit. It's okay. I got there. I wanted to say, with exclusives, do you think the console wars were built around exclusives? And do you think, okay, for example, one console would bring out, like Nintendo brought out, what was it, Super Smash Brothers, or what was their one, Street Fighter? They brought out Street Fighter, so then Sega brought out Mortal Kombat. And then do you think they were building them at the same time going, oh, I've got a guy over at Nintendo that's telling me about this fighting game they're making. We better build one that's similar to that. Because they used to always drop at the same time, like Mortal Kombat, and they always dropped at about the same time.
But Mortal Kombat and Fighter, they came out for all the consoles, or at least all the available consoles at the time. Maybe different versions, like we were talking about, but still.
Street Fighter was not on Sega. Okay, we've opened a can.
No, I don't think I have the Sega version, but you're wrong. It did. I just want to double check see if I do have it on the Sega. I don't, but trust me on this, it did.
Okay, I thought it was a Nintendo.
Championship Edition.
I thought it was a Nintendo exclusive.
Nope, Championship Edition.
Okay,
but here's the caveat. As pretty much everyone knows, the Genesis Mega Drive controller, the original controller, only has 3 buttons. So while you can get it for that, you do need to pick up the 6-button Genesis controller to really be able to play the game well. Okay. I preferred the Super Nintendo versions, the truth be told, but the Genesis version wasn't too bad. Same with Mortal Kombat. I actually prefer the Genesis versions, but the Super Nintendo version wasn't too bad. But no, that does happen. I mean, you'll see that. Okay, so Mario Party. Great game, right? Mm-hmm. You've played it probably. I played it. Awesome. Have you ever played Sonic Shuffle?
No.
It came out for the Dreamcast. And it was Sega's attempt really at a party board style game, except with Sonic characters. I'm not going to lie. Outside of reading a review on EGM, I didn't really have too much contact with the game. But from what I could see, if you liked Mario Party and you didn't mind destroying your Dreamcast's joystick, yeah, I guess go for that.
Well, I think I prefer Sonic Pinball, for sure.
What else? Well, even look with Smash Brothers. Actually, Smash Brothers even to this day has a lot of. I mean, PlayStation Battle Royale All Stars, I think it's called, came out for PS3.
Mm-hmm.
Not a horrible game. It just had a weird mechanic to it that I didn't like, but it was essentially all the Sony franchises at the time, plus some guest stars. So you had Parappa versus Kratos versus Nathan Drake versus Sackboy versus what else? Ratchet versus I want to say Sweet Tooth. Plus, you also had some people from other games come in, like you had Isaac Clarke from Dead Space, you had the Big Daddy from BioShock. So it kind of gave it, because you got to do that now. Now, if you make a game that's supposed to be like a melee-style fighter, you got to have guest characters. Because you expect that now.
Yes, I agree with that. I love exclusives. I just love this whole. Have you played the original Astro Bot, like the free version?
Yes and no. I did not play it, but I let my niece play it because she was hanging out with me. I was like, hey, let's play a game, and Astro's Playroom was there. Here, try it out. And dude, she ended up getting me like 10 trophies. She played through, and it looked fun. It looked fun, but it looked too demo-y. It looked like this is what the PlayStation 5 will look like, which is fine. But it just looked like, whereas Astro Bot seems like a more fleshed out game.
Yeah, they're definitely they've definitely got it a bit more solid, and they've worked it out. And I guess they wanted to see what people thought of the first little installment too. So we'll give you a free game, and then we'll work on the proper version. Okay.
Well, I mean, hey, good for them. I mean, it made my niece happy. She played it for a bit. She won't play it now. She's Roblox has her. There's no bringing it back. It sucks. No.
But like we talked about it, like I don't know, what feels like 20 minutes ago, PlayStation 5 Pro is coming out now, so we are really excited about this.
I will give them credit on this. As much as it sucks, it doesn't have a physical disk drive. At least they make the attempt that you can get an add-on. As much as cumbersome and as shitty as that is, it's something. They may be half-assing in it, but at least there's some ass. They're making the attempt to ass. They didn't just completely kind of said, okay, now it sucks. So I will give them that. They're keeping that alive. What I won't give them, though, is just like, at least right now, I just don't see why I would spend... Really, the price point of that, why wouldn't I get a Steam Deck? Why wouldn't I get a Steam Deck over that?
I don't know.
And the Steam Deck is cheaper! The Steam Deck, like, the best version of the Steam Deck's cheaper than that. So why don't I just go with that? It makes no sense.
I've never got the whole PlayStation Pro. There's two things that are wrong with the PlayStation Pro. They do it every year, every kind of cycle. It seems to be their new thing. One is when they bring out a PlayStation Pro, they're at the end of their cycle. So you're buying something that's going to be no good in 2 years' time anyway.
I wouldn't say the end of the cycle, but definitely the midway point. Definitely.
Definitely getting toward, we're getting towards the end.
You are now walking out of the woods as opposed to in the woods.
Yeah, that's correct. It's always how they do it. And two, whenever they release a Pro, I don't think they get console gamers. Like, console gamers just want a game that runs at a good frame rate. If we wanted like high def things that do ray tracing and all this stuff, then we go and play on our PCs,
And it's not even just that. Like, if I were to throw in, I don't know, Horizon, for example, how much better do these games need to look? Even perform. It performs fine. Like, I don't care about little things like ray tracing. I don't. I was playing blocks. People with that, block head and that face painted right on, mouth didn't move when they talked. So, and that's what you're dealing with. Now, maybe the younger generation does see that. They do see little things like that. I really don't. So, on the graphical performance aspect of it, I'm sorry, it doesn't really touch me that much. I did pick up back in the day. I did pick up an Xbox One X Only because the original Xbox One wasn't 4K. I had just gone to 4K TV. I wanted to, be pretty, and I'm not gonna lie, I got
It wasn't that much more expensive. I think it was $100 more or something.
I had started my new position at work, and therefore my Christmas bonus just like skyrocketed. And I looked at it and like, well, I'm buying an Xbox. Like, what else am I gonna do? So that's the reason why I got that. But yeah, other than that, I really stay away from pros. I don't think I'm touching the PS5 Pro. I mean, that might change. There might come a day if my PS5 broke. If it broke right now, I'd probably hold out until the PS5 Pro came out. I would. I'd wait. I'd be like, all right, I'll just wait, and then I'll just get the new one.
But I have to buy the stand and the disc drive.
Stand, I really don't think I need. I don't stand mine up.
No.
So that'd be nothing. And maybe I'll be lucky in the stand that came with it. That does kind of suck, though. You're not going to include a stand. That's...
Yeah,
that's
but
shitty,
then you show it standing up. Like you advertise it standing up, but you don't include the standing up stand.
All right, I didn't tell you. Like, okay, so I just want to let everyone know my birthday is 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks from today. Jesus. Yeah. And everyone wanted to ask me what I want for my birthday, and I told everyone the same thing. I need some solid state drives for everything. I need it for my Xbox. Because honestly, like I feel like the physical media aspect is go away, and I don't want to stop playing video games, so now I need all this room. So I was like, yes, get me disk drives, just give me like a solid state preferably, just so I can have all this stuff on it. And honestly, I came to that realization the PS5 Pro was announced. It's just like, oh man, they just do not care about physical media.
They're pushing it. They're pushing it away from the physical media as much as they can. They keep on just getting us closer and closer to this online media.
And it's a quote attributed to Boss Tweed, a former political party, kingmaker from the 1800s in New York City. But he said something famously once. He said, "If you want to get along, go along." And that's it's a very corrupt individual I'm quoting here, but it's kind of correct, you know what I mean? Like, you can't fight City Hall forever. So, and I think the PS5 is just another thing of that. I'm still not getting LOA 2, though.
Okay, so where it kind of hits me a bit is because I'm always like, oh, I'll go out and buy, Astro Bot. I go out and buy that. I buy a physical copy, and I don't buy the physical copy so I can have like a whole heap of them stored behind me like you. None of that kind of stuff. I get why people like you, there are collectors out there, but for me, I buy it because I want to play it and I want to see what the game's like. If I don't like the game, I go and trade it. I get back, 2/3 of my money, and I go and buy the next game, So now people like me are going to be like, I'm going to have to really think about if I want to buy that. And I'll probably end up buying stuff more on Steam because I know I've got a return policy if I don't like the game.
Yeah, I mean...
Because Xbox... Does Xbox and PlayStation have a return policy? Like, you can return stuff?
I've never tried to return anything digitally.
No.
In my life.
It's super easy on Steam.
But see, that's the thing. I make plenty of I make a lot of impulses buys, but pretty much all of them are physical. Like, I can look right now at like games like 13, Double Dragon Gaiden, Evil Dead the game, even Mortal Kombat 1. Those were all impulse buys.
Yeah.
But I would not have bought them digitally, even if I had the cash for it at the time. When I'm buying stuff digitally, I'm very more, okay, do you want to buy this? Because not only am I caring about the price point, but now I'm also caring about my disk space, Like, do I even have room for this? Is it worth putting this many gigs on my hard drive just for this? But with physical, you don't have to worry about that because you don't have to install. Just buy it, throw it on there, and next time you want to play it, just then install it,
Well, yeah, I guess. But now the discs are getting to the point where, so you go and put a new disc in, you're downloading 50 gig anyway. Yeah.
But still, it's there. Like, that key is there. Now you not just have to do it. So I guess you could say it's a good thing that, the consumer's not going to be so quick to spend $1 now, so you can kind of save some more money. But it can only be bad for the people selling these stuffs because now I think there's going to be less people buying them.
Well, the other part about it is I think it's going to be really hard to find those diamond in the rough games. Those, you know, when you walk into your like GameStop or whatever, and you see a cover might grab you, but you wouldn't have seen that cover. It's just it was sitting on the shelf in the peculiar spot, and you just picked it up and go, oh yeah, this looks okay. I'll give it a try. Where I know that if I go on a PlayStation sales, you know, I go on their thing and I look at their store and I look at some sales of some games that are coming out, all that kind of stuff. It's basically the games that they want me to buy in the first, you know, 5 or 10 rows. And then after that, there's a whole heap of little diamond in the rough games. So I've got to scroll for ages to try and find something a little bit obscure or different. Where how many obscure weird games did you end up picking up over time, you know?
Yeah, where do I start? But not even just that. I mean, like, sometimes I'll do that. Like, you ever do that? This is all digital, but you ever be looking like down the list and like you find a game that's like just seems so. It's usually only like $2-3. You click on it just to see what it looks like. And like, someone made this. What is this? Yeah.
Why did they do that?
Yeah, what's going on here? I'm confused.
Yeah.
But yeah, just my final verdict on PS5 Pro. I'm not hating on it. I can tell you that right now. Like I said, if my PS5 broke right now, I'd probably hold out to get a Pro. But at the same time, it's just it almost reeks of desperation from Sony's part. You know, like I just don't see why they're doing it at all. I think it's going to alienate, and I think it's going to confuse a lot of consumers, which is the last thing you want to do, especially if, like, consoles, you know, who knows how good footing they are right now.
Yeah, here's a thought, though. Why doesn't Sony do that at the start of the life cycle, like Xbox does with the Series S and X?
And now that I think of it, I think PlayStation gave them shit for it.
Yeah, they wait till halfway through. Because then all the people like we all go out and buy a PlayStation 5 and then we get halfway through the cycle and we go, okay, now we'll try and get you to sell that and buy a new one. And you know, like I would rather just make that choice at the start of the life cycle, not halfway through.
Oh yeah, I agree. You know, because now you got the. I don't see a lot of people just being like, getting rid of their PlayStation 5s just to upgrade to PS4. I can see people, if they don't got the PS5 yet, maybe doing that. But other than that, no. You know, it just reeks of desperation. It'll sell. Copies will sell. People will buy it, yes. But no me gusta. It's just not me.
Yeah, it's not a very good one. The new Nintendo is about to come out soon as well. They haven't made the announcement yet, but everyone's getting so fired up about what it's going to be, what it's going to look like. And basically, I think from everything I've read and seen around the places, it's going to be similar to a Switch, still have cartridges. Unsure if it's going to take the same cartridges. I think Nintendo are kind of going, well, we've made a good thing here, and they know their track record of making a bad console come out after a good console. So they maybe just go, well, let's just upgrade this a little bit and then just stick with what we've got, basically. And I hope they do that. That's what I think I'm hoping for. I've got my kind of fingers crossed on that.
I'm reading some of these comments here. Oni Boni mentioned that the PlayStation, like the pandemic hurt a lot of people when they released their consoles, so I think that may have stinted the exclusives a bit. Could you imagine that if they released a PS5 Pro during the pandemic?
Ugh.
That would have just been...
I don't know. Well, people had money back then because everyone was living at home. People
had money, but they didn't have the PlayStations to buy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Everyone just wanted anything they could do to entertain themselves at home. They would have sold 1 trillion of them if they could make them. But yeah, I'm curious to see. We haven't talked about Xbox exclusives that much. We got a few that are to talk about because we got.
I mean,
Indiana Jones.
Like, they're coming up. You know, they're coming up. As far as exclusives now, Halo, Gears of War, Blinks. There, we just talked about all of them.
No. You missed the biggest one that you always.
I missed a couple.
You
Yeah,
missed Starfield.
Starfield. No, there's even other ones. Like I said, most of the Xbox exclusives were back in the day. And then of course 360 had some good exclusives going on, but even that, like any exclusive they had, it wasn't like an Xbox published exclusive. It was just a game that just happened to only come out for Xbox.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know if that would be like Mass Effect, for example. Mass Effect was exclusive to Xbox. I remember, like, that's the reason why I had a 360, and it was. Of course, then it ended up coming out for PlayStation, even Switch. You can get the original Mass Effect trilogy on Switch. Yeah. So.
Oh, you get Batman on Switch. Doesn't mean it's going to run on Switch. I don't know who ports these things and then thinks that do they play all the way through after porting them, or they just go, hey, this might run on the Switch or it might not. The first 10 minutes works.
I think they pay people to play it. If people are competent enough to actually, find everything, I mean, that's up to the people themselves, I suppose. I mean, and honestly, it wasn't even a bad port, but when I played the Arkham games for the Switch, they looked fine. But they didn't look as refined as the remasters for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. That's PS4. And I was just like, I'm not going to play this. I might as well play it on my
Switch
Portal.
has got similar hardware to the PlayStation 3. Like, that's where it's kind of this running similar stuff. So I think we like the Switch because it's portable. It was the first portable thing. It opened our eyes to portability. The first decent portable thing, but after Game Boys and all that type of stuff.
Well, I mean, like, even go to 3. My main problem with everything from Game Boy to 3DS, wonderful games, but the Switch was the first portable system that actually had good controls. I got giant meat hands, so me trying to wrap my hands around a tiny ass, like, DS, before they came out with the XL, it sometimes it would hurt my hands. I had to stop playing because it's just like they'd be cramping up because you got to play like this so you can hit the shoulder buttons and also hit that. It sucked. The Switch was the first one I could do. Even with the Joy-Cons, which are pretty small, still unbelievably more comfortable than any portable I ever played before that.
Oh, for me, it was the screen. Once you saw the Nintendo screen, it was phenomenal. It was the best, just so good. They did so good.
I'll give credit to the Game Gear. The Game Gear had a decent controller. I think it had a better controller than it was color and backlit, which was good. So, yes, but once again, you're just talking about this little tiny square. But the control was all right. But just now the games came out pumping for that. And I remember, like, even today, I have the 3DS XL, and I can get through it, but I wouldn't want to play, like, even Link Between Worlds for more than an hour. You start to really, like, have to... go gargoyle hands on it. Just
You're not the only person with big meaty hands, according to the comments. So,
yeah. Shout out for all the meat hand people out there. Yeah,
100%.
If I meet him, I'll give him a high five, and it'll be really loud.
Oh my god, Super Meat Boy. And there was, and we didn't talk about the Xbox bringing out the way that they brought out the indie games on their little arcade system. That was one thing that drew a lot of indie game players or indie developers, players. It's just a point of difference that nothing else had seen. The Xbox did it so well.
A lot of those were exclusives, especially for the time. Almost all of them are exclusives, really. I don't remember playing Marble Blast Ultra on any other system or it being available. Of course, though, once like PS4 kind of got their shit together on that end, then it's like, of course, now if it's up for this, especially the indie games. I mean, well, take you, for example. You're developing a game right now. You are an indie game developer. Right now, it's just PC, so you could say it's exclusive to the PC. In the future, if you could, would you want to bring them out to all the consoles to expand your reach? Or would you rather just focus on one console?
Oh, no, I plan to bring it out on all the consoles because I think you can now. It costs you a little bit of money to get it onto those consoles, but I imagine, okay, put it like this. If you say you sold $50,000 worth of copies on Steam, and then you put it on Nintendo and you got another $50,000, and every kind of console you put on, you got another. All of a sudden, you've got your yearly wage, and you can make another game, and you can kind of keep making games. So, but having it just on one console, you've only got one reach. You can only get that first $50,000 or whatever it is. It might be 20,000, but you could combine all those together and get some good money if you put it onto all the consoles.
I know. Well, I mean, because of that, though, I don't think indie games and exclusivity really are compatible to go hand in hand. The only way you would be is if, like, you were being
I was
bankrolled,
just suggesting that the 360, that was their little exclusive niche back in the day.
You had no choice back then. They were very limited. So, like, you didn't have the options you did today where you can put it on all these other different marketplaces. That was the only one. So it was actually kind of cool in a way.
Yeah.
In a way, indie gaming as a whole, for a little bit, was exclusive only to Microsoft, of all people.
Or the dark, deep places of the internet-y. So,
that means, geez. I mean... I mean, are people really like? I'm not even gonna go into it. I'm not opening up that can of worms.
No,
but no. As far as exclusive goes, like I like exclusive games, even if I don't like the exclusive games. I think every console, every platform, not even call them console, just say platform. Every platform should have their own identity. Beyond price point, beyond game, everything. It should have its own fan base. It should have its own games. When I say have its own fan base, I don't mean people that get tribal. No tribalism or anything like that. I mean just like that core right there that defines that. And of course, though, I mean, some people don't like that. People would rather go and whatever floats your boat. Personally, I play everything, so. That's why I own everything. I like exclusives, what they do, but I refuse to be excluded from playing anything. That's why I try to get everything I can.
I think that's the dream as you're growing up as a child. When you know you've made it in the world, you can afford all the consoles that you wish you had while you were a child.
I lost 120 pounds just so I can play Mario Kart someday. True story.
Could your meat hands not reach the controls?
The Mario Kart in Orlando.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's a physical thing.
Yeah, you have to have a waistline of 40 or lower to get into the thing. When I read that at the time, I was 46 waist. I've melted down to 34. Because I refuse to not be able to play a Mario Kart game.
Oh, it's good. Motivator.
Yeah. One of them, yeah. It helped, It's like, all right, maybe if I ever go to Orlando, Florida, yes, I can ride on that, and maybe the crappy Harry Potter ride if I so choose to it, because that also has that. So while I hope never to be a victim of exclusives where I can't play this because I don't have it, it helps with the identity.
Well, I think you're right there, because even if you go to computer, you've got Epic, which has got Fortnite, The Fall Guys as their exclusive titles, and Rocket League, and that kind of you're getting into that online kind of really crap world of, and that's why I think that's where Epic Games has that community, because the people that play those kind of games are really into games that are kind of a bit childlike and not so much for the hard. I mean, they're hardcore gamers, but a different type of hardcore gamers. And then you look at Steam; it's got games like Portal and CSGO and all those kind of games, and that kind of sets a tone for what Steam's community is like versus the Fortnite community. Like they're very different communities, and it does set the tone exactly for what they're like.
I can complain about I know people like to bitch about the Call of Duty community, all that stuff, but at the same time, I can't just help but marvel, because it's just like all these games are little microcosms. Platforms of themselves, I just hope that, like, I know people can get frustrated with exclusives, like, oh, why is this coming out? And personally, I would love to see Doom Dark Ages come out on PS5, if anything, for the haptic feedback.
Mm-hmm.
But, even though it's not, that's okay. Because there's other games coming out for PlayStation, there's other games coming out for Xbox, other games coming out for Switch, and there's other games coming out for PC, And there'll be something there. I can't see anyone, like, complaining about really exclusive, because there's the library of games now is just massive. It's overwhelming in a way. Not in a way, it just is, and it's a good thing. I love it.
Yeah,
definitely beats only having being a little kid. Oh, okay, I can play Mega Man 2, DuckTales, or Mario 3. Great games, but only the options is just so limited.
Yeah, I kind of wish we could shrink the communities, or I kind of push the communities together a little bit more. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like PlayStation and Xbox could join up, or Nintendo could join up with something. You could put Epic and Steam together. Like, that would never work in a million years. But like, if you could kind of push all those groups together, then you don't have to go to all these different platforms. At the moment, I'm running 5 different platforms.
But at the same time, while that would be good, it's good that they don't. Because at the end of the day, it breeds competition. And competition is what drives everyone. Competition is what, oh, look, Sony's making this, let's make this. Maybe it'll be better, maybe it'll be worse. Who knows? But there's a good chance it might be better. And if what they do makes you put out a better product that people are going to enjoy, I don't see that as anything but a victory.
Yeah, that's true.
We win.
We get to buy more stuff.
Even when they compete with each other. Look at Banjo-Kazooie. Banjo-Kazooie came out on the same system that, Mario Kart 64 did. How are you going to compete with that? You might as well not, because it's but they did. And, I don't know if you could call what game better, but we got a phenomenal platformer out of it. So, competition like that, it breeds. Look at what Call of Duty's going now. I mean, you got Apex, they're doing their thing. Fortnite, that bred games like Overwatch, Valorant, all that. Just like the competition is fierce, but it makes everyone's game go up.
That's true. I guess that's where we're at there with this whole exclusivity. It's something that makes everything fun.
No, yeah, I mean, there's really not much more to say. I don't think exclusive, as long as video games are still around, you still got to get people trying to do their own thing. So let's keep it going with the exclusives. I can't wait to see what comes out tomorrow.
Yeah. So we're going to have a month off starting from this week, because I've got a month of doing game conventions and stuff like that. So it's going to be, if you are in the world, if you're in Hobart next weekend, or if you're in Melbourne 2 weekends from now, or if you're in Singapore 3 weekends from now, go and talk to me. I'm probably a nice person in real life.
The only thing I got some good news. I actually got Duke32. If anyone watches my own YouTube channel, I'm really into Duke Nukem right now. Got a damn good community going because of it too. A lot of good feedback. But I finally figured out how to run Duke32 on my computer.
What is that? What is that?
It's the source. It's like the open source for Duke.
Okay. So you can change some stuff as.
Oh, dude! Seriously, hundreds and hundreds of new levels, a bunch of new mods that I can try out. So at least on that end, I got work for the next couple. Plus, I actually ran a poll on my channel. I wanted to do another Duke Nukem run, but I wanted to make it different, do on the console ones. So I said, do you want me to do the Nintendo 64 one, the PlayStation 1 version, or the Saturn version? And I was really hoping no one would pick the Saturn version, because the Saturn version sucks. But the PlayStation 1 version, ended up winning out. Yeah, so I'll be doing that too. So it'll be good for running on me. Plus,
I'm not watching it until you do the Saturn version.
The Saturn dude. It's the controls, seriously. Sega could never put out I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. The Dreamcast is the only decent Sega controller there ever was. And even that had problems, but that's the only decent. I hate, even to this day, I hate using I hate the Master System controller. Um, oh god, worst D-pad ever. Sorry if I get anyone pissed off out there. Love the games, great games, but just the controller was horrible. Ugh.
Yeah. Imagine if they had analog sticks on Sega back in the day.
Well, that's the thing. The Sega Saturn, because I got Duke Nukem 3. This was like 15 years ago. I got the 3D Sega Saturn controller, which had an analog stick on it. Two things though. One, it sucks, and two, there's a switch on top that switches between analog and directional pad, so you can only have one or the other at a time.
Isn't that what the original PlayStation did?
Oh no! You had to turn on the analog sticks, yes, but if you did, it didn't turn off the D-pad.
Oh, why? I don't know. I still don't understand why you had to turn on the analog sticks, and I don't understand why you would turn off the D-pads.
No, neither do I. I mean, even the analog, that they should just kept that stuff on, but maybe just because, maybe they thought, maybe analog won't take off, which it did. Of course, that's like the control scheme now. Most 2D platformers I play now, you still have to use the analog stick, which is odd. But yep. So other than that, though, that's what I'll be doing for like the next couple months of my YouTube career.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting kind of couple of months, and your birthday's all in amongst that, so that'll be pretty fun.
Well, I hope that when we do come back, I mean, I remember when you.
We're doing a Halloween. That's what we're coming back to. Halloween.
Well, now that I've lost all this weight too, I'm excited because I can go to Spirit of Halloween and actually buy something off rack and wear it.
Have you thought about it? Have you thought about it?
See, I don't know. I've never had this many options for Halloween before, so I really don't know what I'm gonna wear. Like, I'm assuming something scary, maybe. I don't know, but I'll think of something good.
No, I want it to be a video character, like the video game character. Yeah.
I don't want to go with Mario. Well, I have my Mario onesie, so I could always just.
What about Doom Guy?
Do they make a Doom Guy costume?
Oh, they'd have to, surely.
Right? Yeah. I do that.
That needs to be. That has to be a Halloween costume.
Oh yeah, man! Hell yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Anyway, we'll be back in a month's time. Until then, have fun. Thank you for watching, and yeah, like, subscribe, all that crap. We never say that shit, do we?
No. Do it at your own pace. I don't like to push people.
Yeah.
You guys are. I think we have some of the most intelligent people watching our show. So we're not going to insult your intelligence.
We're not going to say, like and subscribe. Okay. Goodbye.